Hey besties, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. I'm sitting a little bit differently than I normally do because whenever I sit on my couch to film, I actually don't lean back and my back hurts so bad because this is my third video that I'm filming today. So we're just gonna like sit in my computer chair, we're gonna lean back. It's gonna be a good time because today we are ranking all 95 books that I read in 2020. Too many twos there. That was way too many twos. The only danger of sitting in my office chair while I film this is that I have the tendency to lean back. So I might end up doing this and being slightly out of focus because it's very comfy. So I have 5 categories for ranking these books. And when I was thinking about this video, I was like, what should I name them? And my obsession since October has been Midnights by Taylor Swift. So I thought, what better thing to do than to use lyrics from that album? So our first category, the best top tier, S tier books, like just the best of the best is... That's a real fucking legacy to leave. This is a line from Maroon, and I just thought that this line would like kind of encapsulate good books because like when you read a good book, it leaves a legacy on you. Like that's a real fucking legacy to leave. Like you're just gonna think about it forever. And so that was my thinking. I will say that I am shoehorning these lyrics into my own meaning, so don't think that deep about the whole song. Just think about the one lyric, the one line, okay? So the fourth category is for books that were pretty good, like 4-star reads. Like I really liked them overall. They were a good time. You say what am I? The reason I chose this line where she says what a mind is because I feel like that is what you say when you enjoyed a book and you feel like the author just really outdid themselves. So you're like, what a mind, like how did you think of that? Like that's so good. So the middle tier is for books that I truly don't really think about very often because they were just fine, they were just okay. They're just kind of middle of the road books, like books that you gave like 3 stars. To be honest, these are 5 tiers, so they kind of all correlate to different star ratings, but that's fine. This is a fun way to rank them. So the line that I chose for that is... The next tier correlates obviously to 2-star books, ones that were just bad, that I really did not have a good time reading. They really left a sour taste in my mouth, and so for that I chose this lyric. And the lowest tier, the worst of the worst, is this line. This is a line from Woulda, Coulda, Should've, and I feel like I just am really trying to get across the point that this book was so bad that I truly miss who I used to be before I read this book. Like that book really had a bad impact on me because of how much I didn't like it. Okay, so the first book that we've got is All's Well by Mona Awad. I did rate this book 2 stars, I think, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in And I Never Think of Him because this is one of those books where it really wasn't my thing. I just didn't really like it. Mona Awad is just really not for me, but I didn't hate it as much as like I hated Bunny. So I just never think of it. Honestly, I forgot I read it. It was just kind of here. Next up, we have Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because this is just a dad thriller that is so boring. It is the first book in the Da Vinci Code series. I don't remember what that's exactly called, but it was just so boring. It was giving, my dad got this for 99 cents on the Kindle store, and it's just discount thriller. Next up, we have Anne of Green Gables, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. I feel like I can't say that line without singing it, but I love Anne of Green Gables. It may be no surprise to you, especially if you watched my favorites of this year or just watched my channel at all this year. I love Anne. She's my favorite. It's just one of the best books. Oh, one of my earrings just fell off. I don't even remember what I was saying, but the next book we have is the sequel to Anne of Green Gables, which I believe is called Anne of Avonlea, and we're gonna go ahead and put that in That's a Real, I can't sing that every time, but A Real Fucking Legacy. We're gonna put it there because Anne is iconic. I love Anne so much. Excuse me. But I guess we'll just go into the third one, which is the third Anne of Green Gables book. I'm also gonna put this in A Real Fucking Legacy. It's just Anne again is iconic. I don't really have much else to say besides the fact that I love Anne so much. And then we have Anne of the Windy Poplars, which is the 4th book. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind because this was not my favorite book in the series. I think after the 3rd book, it started getting a little bit repetitive, like the type of stories that they were including in it, because every book focuses on a different part of Anne's life. And I was feeling like we were kind of recycling some plot lines, and some characters seemed very similar to early characters. And I'm gonna go ahead and put Anne's Dream House, or whatever this one is called. Oh my god, my nose is itchy. I feel like I cannot talk about Anne of Green Gables without being interrupted by myself or by someone else. I don't know, whatever. This is gonna go in What Am I? Then we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I'm gonna put this in What Am I? I really, really enjoyed this. I did debate putting this on my favorites. Oh my god, this earring. Okay, what I was saying before my earring so rudely interrupted me is that I really loved this book. I think it's my favorite Grady Hendrix book that I've ever read. I think I've read like 3. Next Next, we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. It wasn't one of my favorite books that I read this year, but it's Emily Henry and she's always iconic and she is very legendary and I love that for her. So we're gonna keep her up there. This wasn't my favorite Emily Henry, but it definitely was really good. She is writing romance the way that the other girlies are not. Like, she's the blueprint and we love that for her. Okay, so now we have the Bromance Book Club. I'm gonna put this in What Am I? This is a really cute romance series about these men who have a book club where they read romance books to try to save their relationships. The next book that we have is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, and I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because I did not enjoy that reading experience at all. This just goes on for so long. It doesn't even feel like a horror book to me. I don't really get the appeal. I have not really liked anything I've read by Paul Tremblay so far, and so unfortunately it's giving war vibes. We don't like it. It's bad. Our next book is Call Me Maybe by Kara Bostone or Bostone. I don't know how to say her last name, but I read this randomly. It was an Audible original, so I listened to it earlier this year and it was fine. It was cute. I'm gonna put this in I Never Think of Him because I truly never think about this book. Like, it has not crossed my mind even once since I read it. I read it during a vlog when I was reading romance books. I think it was the vlog when I dyed my hair red, and I truly don't even really remember what happened in this. Okay, I got the viral Revlon Lustrous lipstick that everybody's been talking about on TikTok, and I just gotta say that it's cute, but it does not keep its shininess for very long. Not very lustrous, if you ask me. The next book is Camp Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. I'm gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because I really did not enjoy reading that book. Like, it was bad. It had very questionable representation of a serial killer who had an intellectual disability, and it just made me uncomfortable. It's like a slasher in the middle of the woods. It wasn't a good time. Did not love it. Okay, now we have The Christmas Wish. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave because this was a 5-star read. I put out my favorites of this year. It's a Groundhog Day type story about this woman who keeps repeating Christmas. It was so funny. It's British. It just made me laugh out loud genuinely, like, so many times, and I loved reading it. It was such a delight. The next book is Clean Sweep, which is the first book in a sci-fi fantasy series that I read, and I'm gonna put this in And I Never Think of Him because I really enjoyed this when I read it, but I kept going with the series. I read 2 more books. I don't know why they're not in order with each other in this list. We'll find them later, but I read all 3 books and they just kind of were forgettable. Like, I thought I really was loving it, but then I kept going and I realized that they just didn't really leave an imprint on me. The next book that I have is a nonfiction book about Columbine. I feel really weird ranking this because it wasn't my favorite book that I read all year, but I rated it like 4 stars, but I feel like it doesn't really fit into any of these categories, and it's about Columbine, which is like a school shooting that was really horrific. So I'm just gonna put this in What Am I and leave it there because I feel weird ranking it. I probably just shouldn't even have put this on this list, but it's fine. The next book is Come Closer by Sarah Grant. This is a book that I read on Halloween for a vlog, and I really liked this. I'm gonna put this in What Am I? It's about a woman who is slowly becoming possessed by a demon. So now we have Come Tumbling Down by Shauna Maguire. This is like the 5th or 6th book in the Wayward Children series, and listen, I like that series a lot, but I haven't read it for so long. So this was my first time reading a book since like 2019 in that series. So I'm just gonna put it in I Never Think of Him because I didn't really connect to it. I rated it like 3 stars, but I think I want to take some time to completely reread the series. So this book could potentially be ranked higher later, but as of right now, I don't really think about it, to be honest. I kind of forget what happened in it. Okay, the next book I'm immediately going to put in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave, and this is Confessions by Kanai Manato. Sorry if I butchered that name. I'm really trying to pronounce that Japanese name, but this is a translated thriller from Japanese, obviously, and it's about this woman whose daughter was murdered and she's a teacher. And so at the very start of the book, she sits all her students down and she's like, I know that one of you fucking did it, and I'm gonna tell the story of what happened. And she kind of like enraptures her whole class, like telling them the story. And then the rest of the book is different perspectives from the fallout of what happens after that. And I enjoyed it so thoroughly. It was such a fun way to tell a thriller, and I really considered putting it on my favorites of this year, but I did rank it 4 stars, and I think I made my favorites only 5 stars completely. So the next book on the docket is what is that? Death Below Stairs, that's what it's called. This was a book that a subscriber recommended to me because I love the Veronica Speedwell series. It is a Victorian England like mystery series about this woman that's a cook. I'm gonna be upfront, I never think of this book. Truly forgot I read it. I did keep reading in this series and we'll talk about those sequels later. I really don't know why I didn't organize this list by like grouping things the way I did Anne of Green Gables, but that's fine. Our next book is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This is a really cute sapphic romance that I really enjoyed. So I'm gonna put this in What a Mind. It just has really cute vibes. It's about this woman named Delilah who doesn't really believe in love, and she has to go to her stepsister's wedding, and she starts a romance with one of the bridesmaids, and there's all these different things that happen, and all of the bridesmaids are trying to get together to convince her stepsister to not marry the guy that she's supposed to be marrying. And it's just a cute, fun time. It is just like a typical rom-com, but I feel like the fact that it is sapphic makes it a lot more fun. Also, don't ask me why I'm giving you the synopsis of some books and not the others. I could not tell you. It's just whatever I feel. We're ebbing and flowing with this video. Okay, The Devil of Non-King. I didn't really like this book, but it was very informative because I did not know anything about the Non-King massacre. So I feel weird saying we survived the Great War because it has to do a little bit with war and it's a really horrific thing that happened in history. So I'm just gonna put this in and I never think of him. My boyfriend is Venmoing me all of our utilities, so please ignore that cash register. Okay, so next up we have The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert. I did not love this book. I read it for a vlog where I dipped my toe into monster romance. Spoiler alert, monster romance is not meant for me. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in We Survived the Great War because I did survive a lot. It's about a woman fucking a dragon and he's got 2 penises and there's a lot of cum. So I really went through it for that book, for that vlog. The Third Mrs. Durst by Anna Gray. This was a fairly decent thriller. I'm just gonna put it in and I never think of him because I do forget that I read it. Okay, so Emma by Jane Austen is pretty good. I'm gonna put this in One of Mine because I read all of Jane Austen's books this past year and I loved them so much. And Emma is just one of those ones where it's a fun little read. It's definitely not my favorite. I think I ranked it like 4 out of all of her books. Like, I can't really remember. Maybe it was 3. I don't remember where exactly I put it. It's pretty long. I feel like that's what made me not want to give it like a full 5 stars, but it was still good, iconic. The next book is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Unfortunately, I really didn't like this book. I'm gonna put it in We Survived the Great War because this was a slog. It was not fun to read. I did not enjoy it. I don't think that the final girl trope was used very well and I found it very hard to follow all the different characters in it. I was getting really confused about who was who because all the women in it are based off of horror movie characters and I'm not a huge horror movie buff, so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who was who and it was weird and I wish we could have just gotten more backstory about each character and it felt rushed and I didn't like it. My opinion on the next book is gonna be kind of controversial. Finley Donovan is killing it. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War. I would have originally put this in and I never think of him, but the more time that has passed since I read this book, the more I dislike it. I just really did not enjoy it. It's about a woman who is an author and she's meeting her agent at a Panera to talk about her next book and she writes like thrillers and someone overhears her and thinks she is like a hit for hire and so she wants her to murder her husband. And it's kind of a silly book. I know a lot of people like this because you're not meant to take it very seriously, but I just really thought the writing was really bad and because it's such a hyped up book, I wanted to like it, but I couldn't get myself into it. It was bad. I think if I had a category between And I Never Think of Him and We Survived the Great War, that's probably where I would put it. Also, the romance in Finley Donovan just really took it down so many pegs. I didn't like any of her romantic partner vibes or whatever. She's got like this younger guy and then she's also got this cop and I don't know, I just didn't like it. Okay, the next book that we have is Fool Me Once and I'm gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because this is by Ashley Winstead, who wrote some of my favorite books. I love In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and I really enjoyed The Last Housewife. Those are her 2 thrillers. She dipped her toe into writing romance in 2022 and this was the book she came out with and I really didn't like it. I wish I hadn't read it because it just left a really sour taste in my mouth. I did not have fun reading it at all and I wish I just never knew that Ashley Winstead wrote a bad romance because I didn't like it. There was like cheating in it and the main character was really insufferable and she needed to go to therapy and she did not deserve the male love interest at all, so it was a bad time. Ugh, the next book is also going in I Miss Who I Used to Be. I hate that book so much. The Friend Zone. I already talked about this in my worst books of the year video, so I'll link that down below if you want to hear me rant and rave about this book. Just so problematic, so bad. I hated it, and it has like cool girl syndrome. The girl with the dragon tattoo is gonna go in We Survived the Great War because that book is so fucking long. It feels like the Lord of the Rings of thrillers. It's so long, and for what? It's a Nordic noir, and it has weird energy towards women. Okay, our next book is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in What a Mind. I really liked this. The twist in this is so good. Amy Dunn is iconic. If you know, you know. If you've read this, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's iconic. The Good Son is another foreign thriller that I read this year. I think I'm gonna put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. I just really liked this. It's a really, really good thriller. It's about this guy who wakes up in his apartment and he's covered in blood, and there's blood everywhere, and he finds that his mother is dead and he doesn't know if he killed her or someone else killed her. And so the whole book is him trying to figure out what happened, and he has memory loss, and it's just a good time. And it's translated from Korean, and I don't know, it's so good. It was my first foreign thriller that I read this year. I think I read it before Confessions, and I just really, really liked it. It was really up there. If you want like a really fun psychological thriller, I really recommend it. Oh my god, Half a Soul is immediately going into That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. It's so good. I love it so much. It's a Regency fairy tale. It is so adorable. I put it on my favorites of this year. I was giggling, smiling, kicking my little feet when I was reading this. The romance is just so cute. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I'm gonna put this in And I Never Think of Him. I don't really think about this book very often. I gave it 3 stars when I read it. I thought that the smut was a little cringy and the characters were a little two-dimensional, but it was still kind of cute. It was fine. It was fine. Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I already gave you a spoiler by saying that I did not enjoy any Paul Tremblay I read this year, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in We Survived the Great War. Also, I need to stop saying I'm gonna go ahead. I feel like I've said that before every book that I've ranked. I'm definitely gonna edit this later and be like, girl, can you get a new vocabulary? But anyway, I did not like this book. It's a possession story. It was my first Paul Tremblay book, and it was boring. It was boring and I didn't like it. I do not see the appeal of Paul Tremblay. Hex by Thomas Old-Huvelt. I'm sorry, this is also going in We Survived the Great War. This book is also such a slog. It's so long, so long. Okay, Crying in H Mart was one of the only memoirs that I read this year, and I'm gonna put this in What a Mind. This was just a really good read. Okay, The High Mountain Court is one that I'm going to immediately put in And I Never Think of Him. I truly never think of this book. This is a Sarah J Maas wannabe fae book about the High Mountain Court. Oh my god, The Hollow Places is so iconic. Immediately going into That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. This is a horror book. It was all my favorites of the year. You can hear me talk about it at great length if you want to watch my favorites, my best of the year. It was a very cosmic horror. I actually had a dream last night that was inspired by The Hollow Places. I think it's because I filmed recently talking about this book. So I had a dream last night that I went into this world, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get into the right world, which is very similar to the plot of this. I guess I'll give you a little bit of an explanation. It's about this woman who like finds a hole in the wall, and it leads to this world with all these like different hills that lead to like different realities and stuff. And so I had a dream really similar to that last night, and it was really spooky, and I'm glad that I woke up from it because it was kind of a nightmare, and I definitely feel like I was inspired by this book. Ugh, the next book, Hook, Line, and Sinker. Did not like this. This is the sequel to It Happened One Summer. It's about the sister of the girl from that first book. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because the man in this book, he needs therapy. He's so annoying. All right, next up we have House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. And you would think that I would put this in one of the lower categories, but if you'd think that, you haven't been watching my channel because I surprisingly really love this. And this is going in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave because I loved it so much. I know you might be surprised by that because I have talked so much shit about Sarah J Maas in my life, but I liked it so much. The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead is going in What a Mind. I did not love this quite as much as I loved In My Dreams to Hold a Knife, but like I was saying, I had also read Fool Me Once by her this year, and this was definitely the superior book. I think that maybe Ashley Winstead should just stick to writing thrillers because Fool Me Once was really bad. It was so bad. But The Last Housewife was good. It's about cults. It's about this girl trying to figure out what happened to her friend. In the Weeds by BK Borison. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War. I did not like this at all. This is the second book in the Love Light Farms series. It follows the guy who works on the farm. This is just basically 400 pages of the miscommunication trope. Like, it was such a slog to get through. It was the last book that I read of the year, and I was super disappointed because I really loved Love Light Farms, but that was bad. The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks, surprisingly, is just gonna go in And I Never Think of Him. This was fine. I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty good. I will say the movie with Miley Cyrus is better. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry is going in What a Mind because it was so cute. It's a cozy fantasy about this orc that opens a coffee shop, and it's so cute. There's a sapphic romance in it, and there is a little mouse named Thimble who bakes little baked goods, and he is so cute, and I loved him. For him alone, I will rate this What a Mind. It was so cute. Okay, our next book is Leviathan by Scott Westerweld. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War. I really feel like I should have a category between And I Never Think of Him and We Survived the Great War, because I feel like the last 2 are so dramatically bad and the other ones are just like kind of like neutral or like really good. Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier is also gonna go in What a Mind. This is a thriller that I really enjoyed. It's about a woman whose son gets kidnapped, and then she finds out that her husband is cheating on her, and so she kind of goes crazy and is trying to get back at him for cheating, and there's a lot of little secrets that are going on, no pun intended. It's cute. Well, no, it's not cute. I feel like I'm always drawn to saying it's cute after I talk about a book that I liked, but I don't always mean that it's actually cute. I just mean that I had a good time reading it. I Married a Lizard Man. This is another book that I read for that Monster Romance vlog, and you would think that I would put it in We Survived the Great War, but I'm gonna shock all of you and put it in And I Never Think of Him, because I rated this book 3 stars because I kind of liked the plot. I didn't love that the love interest was a lizard, but the book itself wasn't that bad. Okay, I had to adjust the screen recording because it's becoming quite a big boy, and so we needed to extend it so we can fully see all the books that we're talking about. But the next book on our list is Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind because I really enjoyed this. This is a slightly dark romance about a guy who gets kidnapped when he's a child, and then he reappears later in his life. He's escaped captivity, and so he rekindles this romance. Okay, so then we have Long Shadow by Olivia Atwater. This is the 3rd book in the Regency Fairy Tale series. This is the 3rd one after Half a Soul, and I really liked this. This was cute. It was probably my least favorite in this series, but it is a sapphic romance. After that, we have Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in What a Mind. This is a friends to lovers romance that takes place on a Christmas tree farm, and I enjoyed it so much. It was so cute. The smut was really good, and it was just a good time. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This book was not great. I'm gonna put it in And I Never Think of Him because it's not the worst thriller that I ever read, but it's also not the best. Okay, now we have Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Or I'm going to put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because I was having such a good time reading all of Jane Austen's books, and then I read this one. I think it was the second to last one I read, and it was a real downer. I really hated it. Fanny Price is one of my least favorite characters that I've ever read about. The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. I'm gonna put this in And I Never Think of Him. It was a little Christmas novella that I read, and it was kind of forgettable, and it wasn't my cup of tea. So yeah, whatever. We don't think about him. Oh my god, the next one, Morning Milking Glory Farm, Milking Maury Glory Farm, whatever the fuck that book is called. I'm gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be. If I think about it too long and hard, I might throw up because of all the different euphemisms and words they used to describe cum. Like creamy. No, sorry, I won't even subject you to it. I'm so sorry. No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because this book was so long. It was so long. I know I'm saying that about a lot of these books that I put in this category, but this one was genuinely so long and I didn't really like it. I did not love it as much as other people. It was not my favorite horror book that I've ever read. I definitely want to try a different Adam Neville book because people speak of him so highly, namely Jordaline. She actually put this book on her favorites of the year, and I love everything she does and says, so I feel bad that I didn't like this, but if you share taste with Jordaline, maybe read it. If you share taste with me, maybe don't read it. I just didn't really get much out of it. It's like a haunted house story, and I didn't really like it. This next one, I literally can't read what it says. Northanger Abbey, that's what it says. The title is so small on that. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind because Jane Austen, she has an incredible mind. Our next book is One Fell Sweep. This is the 2nd book in the Clean Sweep series. I'm gonna put this in And I Never Think of Him because, like I said earlier, I just really don't think about this book like ever. It was just kind of like boring, whatever, you know? The One by John Mars. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind. I had this random 24-hour reading vlog that I did, and I read 2 John Mars books, and they were so good. I'm actually gonna go ahead and pull up The Passengers right now and put it there as well. His books kind of read like an episode episode of Black Mirror. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm gonna put this in one of mine because I liked it. It was fun. I read it for a horror reading vlog and I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It was good. It was spooky. I liked it. Chinko, if you saw the vlog where I read this, you know that this book made me weep. I'm putting this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave because it is a generational story. So there's like a legacy to be had there. Generational trauma, just feelings, families, things. Oh my God. The Patient by Jasper DeWitt. I'm gonna put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave because I really liked this book so much. I did not mean to put it before Pachinko. I don't know how to fix that. Anyway, I really like this. This is a horror novella about this guy that works at a mental hospital and he's trying to treat this patient that's really spooky and there's like weird vibes going on. Okay, this is not working. We need to adjust this again. It's gotten too big. I didn't really think about how 95 books would fit into this. Anyway, the next book is Persuasion by Jane Austen. And if you know me, you know this is going in and That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave, baby. Such a good book. My favorite Jane Austen book. We love it. We love it. We love it. I've talked about it so many times this year. I'm not even gonna bore you with it. Go watch my favorites of the year. That is my catchphrase in this video. Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. I'm going to put this in What a Mind. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about The Penalty Box. This was a hockey romance that I read. I put out my favorite romances of the year. It does have one trope in it that I absolutely hate towards the end of the book. You probably know what it is if you are similar to me at all. But I really liked this. It had like a good plot. I liked the smut and it was a good time. Okay, and then back to Pestilence, which is the book that we were talking about. This is about Pestilence, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. He comes to Earth and he's spreading plague, and then this woman named Sarah, yes, her name is also Sarah, she tries to kill him, and so he like takes her hostage and like brings her around with him as he's killing all the humans, and she falls in love with him because he's hot. So I'm just gonna say What a Mind for Laura Thalassa, because how does one think of that? Like, how does one think, what if people fell in love with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? I don't know. I thought it was fun. And it wasn't the best writing in the world, but I definitely want to read more from the series. I liked it. So What a Mind, Miss Laura. How did you think of that? Okay, now we have Pretty Baby by Mary Kubica. This is hard. Again, I wish there was a category between And I Never Think of Him and We Survived the Great War. I act as if I couldn't just add a category myself, but I'm not going to, so. But anyway, we're gonna put this in And I Never Think of Him because there were some things I liked about it. There were a lot of things I didn't like about it. I think I rated it like 2 stars, but it definitely didn't feel like The Great War. It just didn't feel like a good book. Like I didn't love it. Next we have Pride and Prejudice, and I'm gonna put this in What a Mind. This is the biggest category because I have a lot of books that I really liked this year, but they weren't quite like all the way favorites. And so yeah, I liked this. It was fun. Pride and Prejudice, like, you know what it's about, so I'm not gonna bore you with the details, like Mr. Darcy, whatever. Okay, I'm obviously getting tired filming this right now. I feel like I am not saying anything very intellectual anymore. Not that I ever was, because I'm not that intellectual, but anyway. I'm gonna do The Push next by Ashley Audrain. I'm gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because I had such high expectations for this book and I really didn't like it. Ended up on my worst of the year. I know that everyone and their mom loves this book and I am in the minority of not liking it, so hate me if you want for saying I don't like it, but I'm gonna put it in I Miss Who I Used to Be because I wish that I could have been someone who liked it, and I went in thinking I was going to be and I left being someone who didn't, and now I wish I was that person before that was hopeful about it. So yeah. Okay, the next book is The Red Palace by June Her, and I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because this book was so fucking boring. I really didn't like it. I did debate putting it on my worst of the year because of how much I disliked it, but I decided to just forget it and leave it in the past. It's like a historical thriller book that's a YA, and I just gotta be real with myself. I don't like to read YA anymore, and I shouldn't read it because I always rate it low when I do. It was whatever. I didn't like it. Then we have Rise of Empire, which is the sequel to Theft of Swords. I'm going to bring Theft of Swords up to the front so they can be together. Theft of Swords was iconic. It is an adult fantasy series that I read this year. Okay, we had to make a pit stop in What Am I? It's going to go up to That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. It was really good. I really loved it. I put all my favorites of this year. Broken record at this point. Go watch that video if you want to hear me talk more about it, but it was so good. And Rise of Empire is the sequel. I also gave this book 5 stars. So again, pit stop and What a Mind, and we're gonna go up to That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. Like, Michael J. Sullivan did that, truly. Like, he has What a Mind, but he's also leaving a legacy, and we love that. Sometimes when I film for multiple hours, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Like, am I being funny right now? Am I being interesting? I have no idea, genuinely. Anyway, our last book, not our last book, our next book, not last. I think that was wishful thinking. I want it to be the last, but it's not. We have, I think this was Scandal Above Stairs. This is the second or third book in this like that series right here. They're right above each other. The one about like the maid or the cook, whatever. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind filming this. Anyway, that book was fine. I just never think about it. It was boring. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen is going up in What a Mind because Jane Austen is that girl. She truly is iconic, and I really liked Sense and Sensibility. It was really good. I rated it pretty highly when I read it. And next up we have Shady Hollow. Gonna put that up in What a Mind as well. This is a mystery, cozy mystery about a fox who's a journalist trying to solve a murder in this small town of all these little animal creatures, woodland creatures that live together. And it was really cute, and I loved the cover. I actually bought a copy of it because the cover is so fucking cute. I gave it 4 stars. It was just a really adorable cozy mystery. Our next book is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney, and I'm gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because this book was so fucking bad. Alice Feeney has issues. She's addicted to plot twists. It was just so bad. I talked about it in my worst of the year. You can go watch that if you really want to hear me rant about it. The next one is A Soupçon of Poison. I don't really know how to say that word. It's French, but this is the prequel. Okay, I think this one's the first one and this one's the second one. And then this one is the prequel before these, where you like learn about the backstory of the cook that like solves all the mysteries. And it was bad. I'm actually gonna put this down in We Survived the Great War because I think I gave it like 2 stars. I thought it was really bad. It didn't really add anything to the series, and I read it on my Kindle. I actually bought it. I think I spent like $3 on it because I wanted to read it. Next up we have The Spanish Love Deception, and I'm putting this in I Miss Who I Used to Be because truly I hated that book. It was so bad. I do not know why Book Talk and people on BookTube are obsessed with it. Really bad writing, fake dating, but like so bad. Just such a bad book. Okay, next up we have Still Beating, and I'm gonna put this up in All Away, and that's a real fucking legacy to leave. We keep having to make a pit stop here because it's just so big, and I don't really know how you record when there's so many books to talk about and it's getting too big. Anyway, Still Beating was really iconic. It is a dark romance about this girl and guy who get kidnapped together and they fall in love because this guy that kidnaps them is like the matchmaker, serial killer, and his whole thing is like kidnapping people who are not already in love and like making them fall in love and then like killing them. And it's kind of taboo because he is engaged to her sister and they fall in love while they're in captivity. And it's like a fun, but well, no, fun is the wrong word. Why do I say cute and fun about every book when I don't mean that? I really need to fix my vocabulary immediately. The next book is The Surviving Trace. I'm gonna put this in One of Mine. This was a time travel romance that I had a lot of fun reading. It gives me Outlander vibes and it was just fun. I definitely want to read the next book in the series. I think it's like a 3-book trilogy. It was good. I liked it. Next we have Sweep in Peace. This was either the second or third book in that Clean Sweep series. I'm gonna put this in and I Never Think of Him because truly, I'm telling you, I never think of that series. I should have just like talked about it all at once because we keep bringing it up, but I never think about it. Now we have Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, and I'm gonna put this in What a Mind because I loved it so much. I've been loving T. Kingfisher. I read 2 of her books this year. This one's a cozy fantasy. There's a romance in it. It's about this guy that like lives in a sword and this woman named Hala who inherits him, and then they like take off on this journey because like it's a whole thing. I don't know. I don't feel like explaining it, honestly. I'm getting really tired filming this, but this is just a cozy fantasy. It's really cute. You should watch my cozy fantasy vlog if you want to hear me talk about it more. Okay, next up we have 10,000 Stitches, which is the second book in the Regency Fairy Tale series by Olivia Atwater, and I think I might move this up to That's a Real Fucking Legacy to leave because I really liked this one. I definitely would say Half a Soul is my favorite, and then this one's my second favorite, and then Long Shadow is my third favorite, but they're all so cute. You should really read this series. Where were we? My camera just died. I really can't catch a break during this video. Anyway, we've got The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I read this for the vlog where I was reading Booktuber's favorite books of the year, and this is Meg with books, like one of her all-time favorite books. And it was fine. I genuinely forget about it a lot. I did not love it as much as her, so I'm just gonna put this in and I Never Think of Him. I definitely could see myself rereading this to see if I like it more on a future reread, or maybe reading the sequel, because I did like the characters. It's about these elderly people solving a mystery and it was really cute. I love books about like cute elderly people. Next up we got Tinfoil Butterfly. This is a weird like psychological thriller. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not really like a traditional thriller, but it definitely has like eerie vibes. I'm gonna put this up in What a Mind because I really liked it. I thought it was creative. I liked the storytelling. I had a good time reading it. The next book that we have is True Crime, and I hate to be a broken record, but I do wish there was a category between And I Never Think of Him and We Survived the Great War, because this book isn't like a war to me, but like I didn't love it either. Like it's kind of grotesque. It's like a horror novella about this girl who killed her mom, and her brother like take off on this journey across the country like killing people, and then other stuff happens in it. It's a novella, so I don't want to say more about it because I feel like I already said a lot, but I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War because I really didn't like it. And then next up we have Undercover Bromance. We're gonna put this up here in What a Mind because this is the sequel to the Bromance book club and I really liked it. It focuses on the sister from the first book and this other guy named Mac who is in the romance book club, and it was really cute. I really liked it. Next we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I'm immediately gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be. I cannot stand Colleen Hoover. I really wish I'd never read this book. I did not like it, guys. I did not. Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put this in We Survived the Great War. I did rate it 3 stars, but I did not like it. It was a slog. It was so long. Next up, we have A Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this in We Survived the Great War because this was such a disappointment. I really did not like this at all. I read it for a vlog where I was trying to read cozy books, have a cozy little time over the weekend, and it was not those things for me. I was really disappointed. A lot of people really hyped it up. People said it was like Practical Magic meets The House on the Cerulean Sea because of like the found family stuff and the witches, and I thought it was really bad. The writing was bad and the romance felt very like shoehorned in. There was a lot of like telling and not showing, and it was a bad time. I did not like it. The next book is The Woman in the Library. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind because this is truly one of the most What a Mind books because this is like a thriller within a thriller within a thriller. It's Thrillerception. I don't really even feel like explaining it to you right now because it's such a complicated plot, but just know that there is a book within a book within a book, and it was such a like mind fuck. Oh my god, the next book was my favorite book of the entire year, and that is The World Gives Way. We gotta take a pit stop there, then go all the way up here to That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave. This is such a good book. This is a light sci-fi. It's about this girl who is a contract worker, which basically means that she is like an indentured servant or like a slave, and they live on this spaceship after the earth has collapsed, and at the very beginning of the book she gets an opportunity to run away and be free, and so she is on the run, and then the other main character is this guy named Tobias, and he's a detective trying to find her, so there's like a cat and mouse chase, and it was just such an epic book. I loved it so much. It made me feel so many feelings. I talk about it again way more in my favorites of the year. I loved it. I've been speaking about this all year. It's just such an iconic book. I love it. I think my brain is melting. I really want to be done with this video. That is such a bad thing to say when you're trying to entertain people. I really hope that this video is entertaining because I literally feel like I'm losing my mind and I want to go make dinner. I'm so hungry right now. I think it's like almost 9 p.m. Our third to last book is The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartman. I'm literally gonna put this in I Miss Who I Used to Be. This book sucked so bad. It was so bad. Worst Jennifer Hartman book I've ever read in my fucking life. I really did not like that book. I think this one is called You Can't Be Serious. I don't fully remember. It's by Cal Penn. I'm gonna put this in What a Mind. It was a really interesting memoir. I read this for the video where I was reading booktubers favorites, and this was Jenanine's favorite last year, and it was a really good memoir. It was really interesting. Then the next book is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I'm gonna be kind of weird and I'm gonna put it in What a Mind because I really enjoyed it. Other people say it's stupid. It's literally just Pride and Prejudice but with zombies in it. Like they literally took the text of Pride and Prejudice and then added in other scenes, and I don't know if it's just because I had already read Pride and Prejudice this year, but going back and revisiting it with zombies in it just really hit the spot for me. I really liked it. Oh my god, there's no more books. That brings us to the end, guys. This is my final ranking of all of the books that I read this year. All 95 right here, baby. A really weird group, to be honest. One thing you can say about me is that I read widely. Like I read a lot of different genres, a lot of random ass books. So yeah, I feel like I had a fairly good reading year considering how many books are in the That's a Real Fucking Legacy to Leave and What a Mind category. Overall, good time. I do think that the way I chose to rank these books, like the categories I came up with, like with the lyrics, was questionable. I definitely wish I'd had more nuance between them, but we did it, besties. We did it. This is all 95 books I read. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you think. Like, I don't know, was this video entertaining? I have literally no idea. If you made it to the end of this video and you enjoyed watching it, feel free to use the graph emoji down below. I don't know why, that kind of reminds me of like ranking for some reason. You can use it if you want. So let me know you made it to the end. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.